Welcome, everybody, to Make It Make Sense. I'm your host, Monique Pressley. Thank you for joining us. We are here trying to talk about the things that actually matter, the things that affect your daily life, my daily life, the people in our country. And most importantly, in our community. We want to bring you the news that you can use. We want to bring you the hot off the press updates about the things that our leaders are doing and the ways that they right now are doing things to try to harm us. But not just that, guys. As I spoke about yesterday, toward the end of the broadcast, I know we were talking about Congresswoman LaMonica McIver yesterday, but at the end, I told you, the GOP is holding these hearings in the dead of the night, early in the morning, plotting, planning, having hearings at 1 a.m., scheduling votes to start at 1 a.m. so that you are quite literally sleeping. They are trying to pass legislation on the sneak tip, on the shady, underneath, in the gutter, in the darkness, all the things that you can think of. This is some back alley garbage that they are doing because they know that in the light of day, none of their constituents, not just those who didn't vote for them, but their own constituents would be interested in what they are trying to accomplish in this big, ugly budget bill. Don't take my word for it. My sis, my colleague, our queen, who's no stranger to Make It Make Sense, was there in the middle of the night last night, able to talk to us about all the et cetera and the so on that was going on. Hands clapping for Dr. Nola Haynes. Hey, sis, hey.
Hey, Queen. Hey.
How are you? I know you're sleep deprived, but other than that, how are you?
A little sleep deprived, but that's I can pay that small price for democracy, and for transparency, right?
Yes, and for transparency and for us being able to kind of at least know what's going on and to not allow them to be able to hide, and to be able to bring the news to the people. And here's where I'll start that, which isn't even about the news, but about the people who are reporting the news. It's so sad to me. I'm happy that people like you, content creators, were out there, but I was watching the news and nobody was talking about it on the mainstream, on the main vein. They talking about Sean Combs, they talking about Joe Biden, they talking about everything that for real matters to a small group of people and is not going to affect the large populace of lives. But they got all the time in the world to spend on that, while the Congress is trying to snatch Medicaid, Medicare, SNAP, health insurance, benefits, education. I mean, all these things are happening. So you were there 1 a.m. and until late. What can you tell us? What's the latest?
Well, a few things. So the first place I want to start is, legacy media is continuing to let us down, right? It is incredibly biased, the same things that folks on the right said for years about the media. And so what did they do? They bought it all up. They gobbled it all up. So it's very hard to break through for the important stories through legacy and corporate media. So that's the first thing, for people to truly understand and to truly recognize. I had this conversation last night with Representative Raskin about this new media space and how he's trying to get used to it because he understands, as he says, we need both. We need you all, and we also need legacy media to reach the larger audience. But in terms of truth telling, right, in terms of being able to witness the way James Baldwin talked about witnessing, we were there last night. Now, the bad news first. I talked to several congressmen last night, and I asked them, so are any of your colleagues across the aisle going to stand up and do the right thing? And unfortunately, that is a big fat no, right? So 4 Republicans would not stand up for their own constituents, right? So that's the bad news first. Now, what are the Democrats doing to counter it? They are naming and shaming, honey. They are putting you on blast. They had us out there. The room was pretty packed with content creators just so they could cover a broad base of audiences. And I think that was a very smart strategy.
Right. So what was actually happening? Like they called something at 1 a.m. We want to know what which committee was meeting and what were they trying to get accomplished. And then it's my understanding that nothing has passed and they don't expect it to be able to pass, but it's not necessarily for the reasons that we think. So what was it that you all were there to shed light on?
We were there to shed light on that big old ugly bill. The Republican budget that they tried to pass in the dead of night. And from what I understand, I didn't have clarity on this, but my understanding was they also tried to sneak something else inside the bill late at night while we were still there around 3 a.m. And so, obviously the Democrats did not have a chance to kind of go through it line item by line item, which is the point. Right. So we were there to shed light on this so-called big, beautiful bill, which is anything but that, to kind of highlight the places where it really does advantage people that already have money, and it truly does disadvantage people that are already disadvantaged. So in addition to talking to Representative Frost and Horsford and, the chairwoman of the Democratic Women Caucus, there were a lot of people in the room. I also went outside and I talked to everyday Americans who were there protesting in the rain, Mo, in the rain, people in wheelchairs saying, do not take my Medicaid. Do not take SNAP benefits. Do not harm veterans. All of these things are hidden in this big, disgusting, horrible, and ridiculous bill.
Okay, so I want to just try to give people just what I'm reading by way of an update. So it was the members of the House Rules Committee, guys,
Yeah.
that convened in the early hours last night, Wednesday morning, this morning, 1 a.m., to consider sweeping legislation that the president is calling a big, beautiful bill. We're telling you it's a big, ugly bill. I promise you we're right about that. So this was a markup of the bill that they were doing as opposed to like a final vote. This still has
Right.
some more procedures to go through.
Absolutely.
But the markup of the bill is continuing into the afternoon after getting underway at 1 a.m. This is according to Scripps News. They're saying that one of the most contentious parts, as we've already discussed, is changes to Medicaid. Guys, as I've said to you yesterday, 13.6 million people over time would end up losing their benefits, their Medicaid benefits. And that's you, red states. That's not just blue states. Don't be fooled. That's your kids who are not going to be able to get things. And it's whoever you are who's being serviced by locations that also service people with Medicaid, because if they don't get those Medicaid dollars, they're closing down. So when you're having to drive 30 minutes, 45 minutes in order to get your therapy services, in order to get your cancer services, your whatever services, you'll know that it was because of what this Congress did. But what they're trying to do is extend tax cuts that were enacted by Congress during President Trump's first term, which are set to expire. So they're snatching everybody's money to try to give money to the rich people. What I'm hearing now is that members of the House Freedom Caucus and Speaker Johnson will go to the White House this afternoon, as of now, to meet with President Trump, because some members of the House Freedom Caucus remain opposed to what Congress is trying to do. And so their goal is to try to get the bill passed by the full House by Memorial Day. I think that that's a jokety joke. But I think my point, Nola, in this is that they don't even have themselves together. The reason is that these Freedom Caucus people want more. They want the cuts to come sooner, and they want the tax cuts to happen sooner, and they don't have either. So it's not like anybody right now, to your point, is trying to halt the bill because they want to save their constituents from these horrendous actions. It's that they want the actions to happen sooner, because all they care about is cut where you can, cut where you can. But to me, wouldn't you agree that this gives us an opportunity, because the longer they can't get their act together, the more time we have to organize and to be out there fighting back?
Absolutely. So 2 quick things about that. That was another question that I asked several Congress folks. I said, unfortunately, right now, as I talked about on my show last night on Nightcap in my A block, the one thing that's irritating the hell out of me is that in legacy media, the only thing that they're talking about is this book. And we're still talking about President Biden's age and if he's ill and all these things. So what I said was, do we think that this is an opportunity for us to get it together? Because it's not just the Civil War in terms of, well, we need to, we really need to talk about, Biden and what happened there. There's the stuff with David, Hogg. There's all these different things that's going on in the party. But what we don't have is a unified message. So right now, this could absolutely be an opportunity to figure out that unifying message as they are trying to snatch Medicaid from people. And I also talked to, I had a really good conversation with Representative Cleo Fields last night. We're both from Louisiana. And he's really concerned, a red state, right? That this Louisiana will be impacted more than any state in the country. There are a lot of sick people in Louisiana, and this bill really affects assisted living. Now, my mom, towards the end of her life, Mo, was in assisted living. And, she was a veteran, 100% disabled. And if it weren't for Medicaid, she wouldn't have been able to be in a relatively decent assisted living facility in California. I've been to really, really bad assisted living facilities, and I've been to really, really good ones. And I can tell you, without that additional assistance, we are really setting up our elderly basically to go to these places and die.
Yeah. And it's not, and when you say we're setting them up to go to these places and die, I think the thing that the MAGA brain keeps people from getting, and even those who are just not tapped in enough to understand we're talking about you. We're not talking about just Black folks, just brown folks. We're talking about white folks. We're talking about anybody who is not this white, wealthy male millionaire class that is going to get these breaks. It affects everybody. I'm looking at the Washington Post from 27 minutes ago, pointing out what I think also these so-called conservatives ought to be caring about. The Congressional Budget Office, lawmakers' nonpartisan scorekeeper, projects that it will add $2.3 trillion to the deficit over 10 years. And the national debt already exceeds $36.2 trillion. Nola, it's like there's a chart that shows that every time there's a Democratic president, we end up in a better position for the economy overall for the country. And for whatever reason, when these so-called fiscal conservative people end up in office, our debt is skyrocketing again, and we end up on the verge of recession, just like we are right now. Could it be, Nola, that they aren't really interested in the stuff that they say to their constituents they're interested in? Because as far as I can see, the rich just keep getting richer and the poor are getting poorer.
It's not a people first mentality. It's not a people first mentality at all. And, while, Dems don't always do things right, that is the one thing that I will say, in terms of a people first approach, this whole kind of America first approach, which is a joke, isolation. Take it from a political scientist. Isolationism does not work. And I would argue that this actually isn't isolationism. It's some sort of amalgamation of different types of governing styles. But whatever this is, it is a joke. It is not working. It is not a people first approach. American first in this context means rich, white, so-called Christian males first. Right, because even the Christian part is questionable because it's their own brand of Christianity.
It's negotiable.
I mean, so it's really not about the people. And I actually think they don't even like their own constituents. You know what I'm saying? Like it just doesn't seem to be like they are grounded in reality. Even when you think about the way that they talk to their constituents at some of these town halls when they go back, to their states, to their cities, the way that they are interacting with the people who vote for them, it is so aggressive. It has no empathy whatsoever, which I know that they are opposed to empathy, right? But here's the thing. Here's the thing. When their constituents start dying, unfortunately, because that's really the road that we're on. I don't think that they care about people, losing their jobs, but they're going to care when those unemployment numbers tick up, right? They're going to care when those homeless numbers tick up. They're going to care when people start dying in their districts.
I don't
right?
know. I don't know.
Well, you're right. I mean, in terms of vote, in terms of being reelected,
you about to lose your job, I don't know that they care at all. But let's wrap. Nola, tell us what we need to be doing, because there are those of us like you, like me, who will get in planes, trains, automobiles, and get down to the spot where it's happening. And then there are those who cannot. Yes. But I know that there are things that we all can be doing. What are those things?
So there are a number of things. Katie Fang was on Nightcap last week, and she had this really good list of things that people can do. If you aren't the type right now, or you feel unsafe being out in the streets and protesting, you don't have to do that, right? You can call members, not just your member. You can call all members, right? That is your right to do so. You can amplify messengers, in terms of the pivot away from traditional and corporate media, and you're tuning into folks like us. Continue to amplify, continue to engage. Another thing that you can do is that you can educate and inform your own community, your own friend group. We all are on 11,000 group chats. Turn that into a classroom. There are things that we could be doing. And yes, protesting does matter. Yes, protesting does, it is part of our civic duty, so we can be out in the streets and numbers en masse, but there are things that we can be doing every day. But doing small gathering and small organizing, that's also advocacy and activism too. But again, you can call any member, not just your member.
And you better. And I know that there are different schools of thought about that, but I'm glad that you mentioned it, because frankly, to me, bombarding the phones of Democratic members who are already on your side, right, who are doing everything they possibly can, who are lockstep voting against every one of these measures, that's not it.
Right.
It is the entirety of Congress that is voting on this budget. And so the entirety of Congress is at your disposal for these calls. 202-224-3121.
Listen.
Ring, ring, ring. Call away. 202-224-3121. Ring, ring, ring. Call whoever you want to call. Keep calling. Get your friends to call. Get your friend group to get on the phone lines. There are ways that you can volunteer to do phone banking, all the things. But I'm just thankful for everything you're doing, Dr. Nola Haynes, including getting your cute self onto my show at the last minute today after you have been up all night long. We love you for it. We love you for it. And you're welcome back here to talk to us anytime.
Yes. I want to talk about foreign policy stuff. Like literally,
we want to talk about
happening.
We want to talk about it. I'm just trying to make sure, Nola, I'm just trying to make sure. I'm trying to show the babies and them got some snap and everything. So yes, we're talking about everything. We are prioritizing some things. As you know, before we came on today, we were talking about what apparently is going on right now with our crazy ass president and treating president of another country, an African nation, like trash. But we will report on that later after I can figure out what is actually going on. And so I will follow up with you about that. But for now, thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Talk to
you later. All right, guys. I hope everything from Dr. Haynes was helpful. If you're not following her, follow. She talks real smart about all the things, and she is a foreign policy expert, and she is a national security expert. That is a sweet spot for her. So if you're confused about whatever's going on in other parts of the world, then she's a great, reliable source for that information. Other things that we're going to be talking about today, later in the day, look for drops here on my YouTube channel, because it is the other breaking news that the Department of Justice has announced that they are no longer going to be pursuing. They are dismissing ongoing cases from the Biden administration that were investigating police departments across this nation that had repeated police misconduct issues. They are dropping all of those, and they are sending out a list of city by city of places where they will no longer be providing oversight. So basically the Civil Rights Division of the Justice Department, formerly under the Biden administration, headed by Kristen Clark, is nothing, is a thing of the past. And instead they're just leaving it up to municipalities to do whatever they're going to do. I will do a video about that and bring it to you. I will also be bringing you another update later today about a couple of other things that are going on, so that we can just be giving you the news as it happens. So subscribe, please, to my YouTube channel, this one, Monique Pressley channel, and like videos and share videos so that we can continue to grow. I know we're transitioning over from Instagram Live, where you used to see me. I'm still posting clips there, but if you want to see the full shows, we're here with the news that you can use in our effort to help make it make sense. I'll see you back live tomorrow noon Eastern, but there'll be drops through the day. Thank you for joining. Until next time, stay safe out there.